But of course, there's so much controversy happening in the United States right now with ICE, who are also wearing uniforms and wearing masks. And so you don't know, people walking around with uniforms in an American city. There are some Americans that might object to that. And so apparently this shooting has happened.
Granted asylum, and if so, when did that happen? Under which administration? And did authorities miss any signs, either in the asylum process or even back when he reportedly worked for the CIA? If you could talk about that.
Well, you miss all the signs when you do absolutely zero vetting. And that's exactly what happened in this case. When you, in the prior administration, made the decision to allow thousands of people into this country without doing a single piece of background checking or vetting, that's how you miss every single sign. And Secretary Kristi Noem has put out details specifically related to your other questions, so I'll let that speak for themselves.
All right, guys, so we have to talk about the breaking news involving the 2 National Guardsmen who were shot in D.C., and right now they're in critical condition. I know early on it was stated that they had actually passed away, but that was then retracted. They're in critical condition right now, so we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. But who you just heard right there, that was Kash Patel, FBI director. And so this is how these things go. We know right away, and we're already seeing it from the Democrats and from the liberal media, where soon as this event dropped, rather than focusing on the fact of, hey, who is this guy? How did he get in this country? Is he here illegally? Why is he attacking our military? It became a storyline of how can we look to blame the president? And so a reporter asked the FBI director a question: did authorities miss a sign in the asylum process? And Patel, he put it perfectly. When the prior administration made the decision to allow thousands of people in without doing a single background check or vetting, that's how you miss every sign. And the FBI director is right. Whether it was people who entered the country just flat out illegally or those who were just given asylum without any type of vetting process, my personal opinion is you're not attracting the best and the brightest that the world has to offer when that's the introduction that they have as far as coming to this country. And what they're now finding out is that the Biden administration let in 90,000 Afghan nationals under the Operation Allies Welcome and Operation Allies Refugee Program. And 55 were placed on the terrorist watch list. After entering, 46 were cleared, but 9 remain. Listen to this. 9 remain as of July of last year.
Admitted under this program, 55 were placed on the terror watch list after entering, 46 cleared, but 9 remained as of July of last year. Several cities in Washington state, like Bellingham, Seattle, Spokane, receiving hundreds of resettled Afghans. The question now really, Emily and Todd, is there additional threats out there?
Yeah, I mean, that is the question. What exactly did Joe Biden and his administration's vetting entail? Because if we remember, it was a very chaotic time. It did not look like when you saw individuals literally running on the tarmac to try to get on planes, leaving Afghanistan. That does not give confidence that, hey, we're really vetting these people to the hilt. And so the question that becomes what did they do? And how many other bad actors are out there? Because, let's face it, they were not properly vetted by the Biden administration.
Yeah, and this...
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly what I'm saying. You can't tell me that you're attracting those who are the best, the brightest, the smartest, the most ambitious people when they were trying to flee their own country. I do not believe that. And so, guys, we still don't have a confirmed motive for the shooting. But given the political atmosphere right now, even the Democrat mayor of D.C., Muriel Bowser, just admitted this was a targeted attack on National Guard troops.
Mayor, does this validate the need for the National Guard here in D.C.?
What we know, Andrea, is that this is a targeted shooting. One individual who appeared to target these guardsmen, that individual has been taken into custody.
And so, yeah, there we have that. And let's be real. Look at the rhetoric coming from the mainstream media and Democrats. Many Democrats, they've been hammering the National Guard, ICE, federal law enforcement nonstop for months now. And instead of focusing on the actual issue, they're already looking to create the narrative. They're already looking to spin this and blame the president, guys. Somehow, some way they want to tie him deploying the National Guard to these different cities, you guys. Listen to what I'm saying. They want to try and blame it on him because he's sending troops to different cities to help calm crime instead of actually addressing the root of the issue, which is the environment they helped create and then continue to stoke the flames of conflict and chaos.
Has there been tension with the National Guard? I mean, NPR spoke with a number of National Guard members from Ohio on the condition of anonymity, and they talked to them just the other day, on November 10th. And they talked about the deployment to various cities, including D.C. One said, "This is not what I signed up for." 3 of them declined voluntary deployments, and they were deeply uncomfortable with what they were doing. Has it been tense with the National Guard around?
So it has not been tense as far as the public and the National Guard, but I think it really is no secret that many of the National Guard folks don't understand what the purpose of their being there is. I know that I have quick interactions with them when I see them occasionally, and they'll roll their eyes. They'll one of them said that he thought it was a waste of time, and so I think they understood at first when they were deployed there with all the other federal resources. But then so many of the federal resources have been pulled back out of D.C., and yet the National Guard has stayed there. And they're staying at first it was the touristy spots. You saw them down near the museums and the monuments along the mall. And then it seemed like that they were deployed to many of the downtown subway metro stations. And so I know that I don't feel like there's tension with the public and the National Guard or with their presence, but I do think that that many of them wonder why they're there, what their purpose is, and how long they're going to be there.
Their presence is also under question, whether it's legal. Last week, a federal judge ruled the Trump administration's deployment of the National Guard in D.C. was unlawful, arguing it lacks authority and is violating the District of Columbia's sovereign powers under the Home Rule Act. The Trump administration is appealing that order. They filed their appeal, Ken, last night.
Matter of 2 people fighting for their lives, guardsmen, that this president put there. And as I said, I was one that was very vocal against that. But I'm not going to belittle the fact that their lives are at stake to get into a back and forth with the president. I can say that if I'm a member of their families, I don't want to hear what he's saying about Honduras right now. I want to pray that these 2 guardsmen who were ordered there and who we're being told by the mayor was ambushed, make it through. And all of this about sending in 500 people, what does that have to do with where we are now? I think that we've got to, those of us that have been opposed to the president's policy, show that we're not going to morally match him by going down to a level of insensitivity. There are 2 people fighting for their lives on Thanksgiving Eve. And it just seems ironic to me that people that pardoned people assaulting police officers are now talking about how they're going to uphold and look up to the people in the building. People in that building were beat January 6th. So
anytime an incident like this occurs, it seems like the media and the liberal crowd immediately rushes to shield their narrative. And the way they're doing it right now is downright shameful, really. Instead of addressing the violence that's going on currently, what do? They instantly run to shift the conversation towards Trump. And so what do you hear them saying? Well, he sent the National Guard there, so it's his fault. As if that's some kind of scandal. He's the commander in chief. Deploying the National Guard is literally within his authority. And the men and women who signed up to do so understand that they have a duty of protecting and serving this country. And so that's how the system works. But rather than acknowledge that, guys, what do? You see the media pivot to sympathy for the anger directed at the National Guard, ICE, federal law enforcement. They start framing it like, oh, people are upset, tensions are high, emotions are running strong, almost as if they're trying to explain away the attack. My personal opinion, what they're really doing here is laying out the groundwork to try and make it seem like the violence is somehow understandable. And because you see all the protests going on in the news, and so it becomes, oh, people don't want the National Guard, ICE in these blue cities. And of course, people can't stand Trump. They got to make sure they paint that narrative also. So the implication becomes, well, this is what happens when you do this sort of thing. And that's the disgusting part. Instead of holding the radical leftists who commit these acts responsible, they bend over backwards to deflect the blame. They won't call the individuals causing the chaos. They rather point the finger at Trump and the people trying to restore order. And that's exactly why these extremists feel justified. The media is running interference for them. And they can't fathom the fact, check this out, that there are people who want to serve this country, do their part. And so the young woman volunteered. This is one of the troops who was shot. She volunteered to be there on Thanksgiving, working day, as did many of the guardsmen and women. This is coming from Pam Bondi. Take a listen.
I'd like to add something about the young woman. She volunteered to be there on Thanksgiving, working today. She volunteered, as did many of those guardsmen and women, so other people could be home with their families. Yet now their families are in hospital rooms with them while they are fighting for their lives. So, just pray, everyone pray today for these two soldiers, these two guards, the man and woman. But if something happens, I will tell you right now, I will tell you early, we will do everything in our power to seek the death penalty against that.
All right, guys, so there you have that right there. And so I wanted to get into this Stephen Miller clip because he absolutely drops a truth bomb. And he's saying some of the things that I was just mentioning earlier in this video, as far as when you have people who are crossing the border illegally because they're fleeing and they're desperate to get to this country, or you have asylum seekers who are fleeing and trying to escape their country that is in shambles and they have done nothing to actually help build it up. Like, who are the type of people who are coming to this country, and how are they being vetted? Are they the best and the brightest? Are they the most educated? Are they adding to the society, or are they simply coming and being an additional dependent? Are they coming here to be an asset or a liability? And so Stephen Miller, he just tells it flat out, point blank, period. Take a listen.
And also having a conversation tonight with America, the conversation that we have to have with President Trump saying that Joe Biden, the Biden administration, the Democrats have inflicted on this nation the worst national security threat in our history. We've never faced a threat like this. 20 million people brought into our country from the most failed societies on earth. Afghanistan, Somalia, Libya, Iraq, brought here. No vetting, no conditions, no rules. Brought here on visas, brought here as refugees, brought here as asylees, brought here as illegals, brought here in every way imaginable, by plane, train, bus, automobile, by land, by sea. For 4 straight years, they deluged this country. And now more blood is being spilled as a result. What you heard tonight from President Trump, the breaking news here tonight, is saying that his government is going to accelerate efforts to review every person added to this country over the last 20 years, or the last 4 years, all 20 million. Now, obviously, if you're illegal, you're out automatically. But everybody else who was brought here, refugee, asylum status, whatever status, as he said, if you're not someone who loves this country, if you're not any benefit to this country, then we're going to send you out of this country. Because it's enough already. No one else has to die. No one else has to be murdered. No one else has to be shot. No more empty seats are needed at the Thanksgiving table or the Christmas table because of what Democrats have done to this country. So tonight we heard from a commander-in-chief a historic announcement, a brave announcement, exactly what America needed to hear, Kellyanne.
Wow, wow, wow. Listen, I'm going to keep you up to date with this information. We're going to have to see how this all ends up unfolding. But guys, drop your comments down below. I appreciate when you guys chime in. As always, best way you can show your support and that you enjoy the content is by smashing that thumbs up. That tells me you enjoy the video, and subscribe for more breakdowns like this. And as always, until next time.